What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is a requested video from one of my subscribers, and they actually requested this video a while back. And sometimes, I might forget, especially if it's not a Cash App or a PayPal donation. It's like maybe a donation in the comment section or maybe Facebook Messenger. Sometimes I can forget because I'm not always looking at every message on those other platforms. But anyway, he wanted to get my opinion on what type of career could Yao Ming have had it not been for the injuries. Now, of course, in real life, I think it was back in 2007, Yao Ming, I think he broke his foot in a game, and I can't remember who it was against, but he broke his foot. And afterwards, Yao Ming continually had foot injuries that kept him off the court and affected his overall level of play. And ultimately, Yao Ming retired, I think it was in 2011. And he was only, 31 years of age when he retired. Now, be it as it may, largely on the strength of his China league career and the fact that he had some good years in the NBA, though he wasn't as dominant in the NBA as I would say he was in the Chinese Basketball League, or the CBL, like it was called. But he still had a Hall of Fame worthy career. But had he never got hurt, or at least had the longevity of, like, say, a Kevin Durant or something like that, or a Russell Westbrook, where he was fortunate to play, 15 plus years in the NBA, on top of the Chinese league career, then I would say he would be up there. He would definitely be up there as far as considered one of the all-time great bigs. I mean, he's already a Hall of Famer, but remember that in the year that he suffered the foot injury, 2007, before he started having the injuries, he was averaging like 27 and 10, I think. I think he was averaging 27 and 10. So he was having a career year before the foot injuries. And I tend to think if his production had been more consistent and more to the level of what we thought his peak production in the NBA could have been, then that may have also lengthened indirectly the career of Tracy McGrady, okay, who also was having his injury issues. Now, I think he played until 2013, but he was never really the same after 2008, 2009. So if he was healthy, then I'm talking about Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming, then that 2009 team, that was probably the best team that he played on, if both those guys were healthy, then I think that might have been a year that the Rockets could have won a title. Now, I know Laker fans, don't want to hear that, right? They don't want to hear that, 'cause I think that Laker team won 65 games and won the championship. And rightfully so, they were a great team. But I think that Rocket team, if healthy, with a healthy Yao Ming, with a healthy Tracy McGrady, with a prime, Ron Artest, I think that team could have possibly beaten the Lakers. I think that would have been a great series. But if they knocked out the Lakers, then I think they cakewalked Orlando Magic, similar to how the Lakers cakewalked Orlando in the real life, like 4-0, 4-1. Yao Ming always gave Dwight Howard problems. As great a defender as Dwight Howard is, Yao Ming gave him problems. And I also believe, let's just say in this scenario, they win a championship that year. And let's say Yao Ming wins the Finals MVP. Let's just give it to him, even though there's Tracy McGrady there too, and maybe he doesn't get it. But let's just give Yao Ming the Finals MVP as well. I also believe that as he ages and the NBA changes and bigs become more stretch bigs, I think Yao Ming could have transitioned into being something akin to a better version of Brook Lopez. Because when James Harden took over that team, that was what, about 2013, 14? So Yao would have been 33, 34. That's not that old. So I could see Yao playing, if he chose to, for a couple of more years with a reduced role, a changed role. And maybe they win a title, another one. I don't know. I'm not as sure about that one. But I do think that he would play a lot longer, maybe until his mid-30s. Now, because he was so big and he was taking such a pounding over his career anyway, I'm not so sure he would have played 20 years or something like that, because remember he played in China before. But I think Yao could have played at least until he was in his mid-30s. Instead of retiring at 30, 31, I think he could have played until he was 35, 36, maybe even 37. And his numbers would have been even more impressive. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, if Yao was drafted, 2002, and if he played until 2016 or 17, then that's what? Is that close to 20,000 career points in the NBA? Maybe for him, 18,000, somewhere around that range, in addition to the China Basketball League production. Well, when you combine it all, he would go down as possibly a top 5 all-time big man. If you combine his accomplishments in both leagues, I think he's like top 5. If you don't combine the CBA accomplishments as just strictly NBA, he still goes down as one of the top 10 to 12 big men this game has ever seen. And especially with the championship run, that puts him up there. But that's just how I see it, because like I said, I think that Yao could have transitioned into being, a big in the more spaced out 3-point revolution change league. His role would have changed. And as I think too, as Yao got older, his defensive abilities would have kept him off the floor a little bit more against certain teams and in certain situations. I think Yao during the regular season probably would have played fewer minutes than he did in the playoffs, because in the playoffs, I think in the half court set, I think Yao would have been a little bit more of a threat when the game tends to slow down, especially in 4-quarter situations. That's not, I think Yao will play more minutes. That's just a guess of mine. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.